The 6 biggest Commander storylines.
It is caught!
Delivered at 6 o'clock sharp. It's the Pick 6 at 6.
I'm going to be their biggest and harshest critic, but I'm also their number one fan.
Yeah, that's right. Eric Bieniemy, that man spoke today. But we gotta revisit something we kind of low-key discovered as we went earlier in the show. Afternoon practice means the press conferences and stuff came in a lot closer to showtime. And as we started to listen to some of what Ron Rivera had to say, there was something that emerged that we found, I don't know, humorous, let's call it. That's going to be number one. I said that is going to be number one.
Number 1.
All right. Anthony, do you still have the bites up over there, or do you need me to pull them up over here?
I got them up over here.
All right, because we got a lot of sound going right now. So if you could help me out, that would be great. So here's Ron Rivera talking about how he feels about the quarterback position this year compared to previous years.
I think there's not that question mark still. You know what I'm saying? You always kind of, for 3 seasons, I've always felt that I had a question mark. And now you feel like, wow, it feels like, okay, this is pretty good. I mean, I'm pretty comfortable, pretty confident, and I look forward to seeing it. I really do. I mean, the other night, seeing it was wow, that he did some really nice things, and let's keep rolling, let's keep growing, and hopefully it continues.
Now, you hear the calmness and the confidence in his voice. And I just want everyone to remember that less than a year ago, when asked about Carson Wentz, after Wentz struggled immensely in a Thursday night game that, unbeknownst to us at the time, he broke his finger in, this was how Rivera so vehemently responded and how much he felt like he had an answer at the time.
I'm going to speak my mind for a second. Honestly, it's been hard. It really has. You lose 4 games in a row, and everybody wants to get you, just get on you. And they've played their asses off. They have. They play their asses off for everybody. They come out and they show up. They work hard. All right? They don't complain. Okay? They hear all this stuff, and they got to deal with it. I get that, and I respect them for that because they're resilient. They come back. Everybody keeps wanting to say, I didn't want anything to do with Carson. Well, I'm the guy that pulled out the sheets of paper, that looked at the analytics, that watched the tape in the when we were at Indianapolis, okay? And that's what pisses me off, because the young man doesn't deserve to have that all the time. I'm sorry, I'm done.
That defensiveness of Carson Wentz is the same dude that today is like, yeah, I'm good on quarterback. We're chilling. Which is just... Also, my favorite... I haven't heard that bite in a long time. I gotta say, Anthony, my favorite part of that bite from last year is that he talks about analytics on a printed sheet of paper. Analytics, something definitely done digitally. Not that you can't get a printout. I just think it's like, hey, if we're going to talk about the analytics, I don't think you should point out how you're like, hey, guys, can you print it out for me old school style? I really like the flavor of... or the feeling of paper in my hands. It's a little thing. It's very silly. It's completely inconsequential. But it makes me chuckle.
That dude Ron makes me chuckle all the time, actually.
We were talking about this in a break earlier. Here's the thing. I think Ron is bad at lying. Both, he doesn't like to do it, which, I guess speaks well of his character. I like people that don't like to lie. If you're, super comfortable...
Right,
if you're comfortable lying, that's not exactly hey, I trust you. No, I don't think he likes to lie. And he's also, as the skill of lying. I'm not even going to say lying, right, in this way. People talk about political correctness, and they misuse that term because they think you can say, offensive stuff. And you just don't like being politically correct. No, I like you to not insult people and because of reasons that are beyond their control. Unlike you who's, never mind. I feel like I've been salty enough today. But what actual political correctness is, the origin of the phrase is politicians, the people that work down the street on Capitol Hill, being able to say something without really saying anything at all. Or they're being politically correct about it because they don't want to offend some of their constituents by saying something that is true, but they're not going to want to hear. Not like being able to say a slur. That's not what political correctness means, right? And so for, Ron, when he's got to be politically correct in the true sense of the term, and he's got to be able to massage a situation and be like, Carson's continuing to, like last year, right? The better answer to a lot of the Carson questions would have been like, Carson's incredibly talented. That's why we brought him in. He's working on getting better, and we're going to continue to let him work. That BS meter goes off like, that means he's not ready yet. But, like, Ron's bad at that stuff. He's like, how dare you? Because he thinks the performance art is going to distract or something. I don't know what the calculation is. I'm not going to try to put my psychologist hat on. I just think it's wild when you hear the difference of when I think he genuinely is not lying. I think today when you hear him say,
I think there's not that question mark still.
He's actually telling the truth, and he's much better at that when he can just tell the truth. So that's where we are on that. All right. I thought I had all the numbers pulled up, Anthony. We're really just having a time over here today. Everything that was saved from yesterday that we had prepared the segment. This isn't a fine on me. This should be a fine on the computer system. Hate that. All right, numbers. We need all the numbers. Open up the numbers so we can continue in our training camp. Pick 6 at 6 with number. Oh my God, please open faster. Number
2.
A lot of buildup for number 2. All right, the risk reward of playing starters in the preseason with injury is a possibility. Obviously, we saw the reward with how well they looked. The offense caught a great rhythm, and we feel like they're very prepared, and it seems like they feel like they're very prepared for the season. However, we also saw the risk side of it because, Terry McLaurin has a turf toe injury that could keep him out week 1. We'll get more injury updates on that in a moment. But here is Eric Bieniemy on how he thought of the risk reward. By the way, as his old boss, Andy Reid, might be playing Patrick Mahomes in the 3rd preseason game this weekend.
Well, I think anytime when you play this game, there's always a risk involved, right? But one thing that we're taking pride in is that, hey, we fear nothing. We attack everything. So we have to stay on course with our progression and our growth process. We're trying to make sure that we can collectively grow together as a unit and as a team. So the thing that I want is that our guys, they want to play. They want to be out there, which gives us a chance. And so sometimes players get hurt. You'd never want anyone ever to get hurt. But at the end of the day, sometimes you come out with the results like we did this past weekend. So, and I understand it's preseason, but all those little things matter, and it helps to build the confidence. And on top of that, it's helping to establish a foundation in which we're building.
Obviously, you still have practices before the season starts, of course, but if the starters really don't play in this last game, do you feel good about where everybody is with those needed game reps?
Well, our starters are still working, and we got a lot of work to do. So we'll see exactly what we need to do moving forward.
Sounds like EB might be pushing behind the scenes for you guys to play. Ron has already said they're not playing in the 3rd and final preseason game. But, the work is good. It's a chance to get out there and have it feel like it matters in a way that it just can't in practice. Like, you're competitive in practice, but you can't trick your mind. Like, it's still practice. Like, you want to win the practice, but the stakes just aren't there. They're more there in a preseason game. They're more there in a regular season game, more there in a playoff game, more there in a Super Bowl. That's just how it works. But to get that feeling is good. It's just how much risk tolerance do you have when, we talked about this at the end of Russell's show. Doc was in today and pulled me on for a minute or two. And when we say preseason games don't matter, they matter to the guys that are out there. You want to always compete. And I think seeing that competitiveness and the work matters and all that stuff. But if you win, you don't get any credit for it towards your ultimate goal of making the playoffs in terms of the standings. And with that being the case, there's amount of risk tolerance that you just have or don't. And certain coaches have more of it, certain coaches don't. And it sounds like EB's definitely from the school of like, yo, we're playing football. These guys get hurt in practice. Like, let's go out there. And I don't really disagree with him on that front. I just think like the quarterback is a different story because of the yellow jersey that you wear in practice where you can't get hit. And if you're not going to play the quarterback, what's the real point in playing some of the other guys? But we'll see who plays and who doesn't on Saturday against Cincinnati. All right, on to number 3.
Number 3.
Ron Rivera. How is Terry McLaurin doing? How are Logan Thomas and Chase Young doing?
I think for the most part, again, Terry's x-rays were negative. His MRI showed the same thing for the most part. So we'll continue to just monitor that, continue the rehab and the treatments and stuff. And, we're going to keep him off his feet for a couple more days and then start getting him ready once we get into next week.
Chase and Logan.
Chase, again, is just continuing to work on the side. He's got a doctor's appointment coming up. And we'll go from there. Everything's looking positive. It's looking in the right direction. Logan, things have been going well. He'll actually do some sideline work today, which is pretty exciting as well.
Some other injury news and notes from practice on the health front. Again, Logan Thomas working on the side like you just heard. But what was the one I just scrolled past? Oh, Jamin Davis. Jamin did not practice today because he was sick. So he was sent home sick. Don't want to get anybody else sick. He ultimately goes home. I didn't see, Anthony, I don't know if you saw anything on John Allen today. I didn't see him that he was in or out either way, which I think is, I guess maybe people just assume he's out. But did you see any tweets from anybody on whether he was practicing today?
No, I did not actually see anything about John. But I would assume that he was out there. But
he's got to have been out there.
Yeah.
Like out as in not out.
Yeah.
Like not playing today.
Yeah.
If he's messing with a plantar fasciitis, just stay off of it. We'll see if we can get an update on that at some point. To everyone, tweet your local beat reporter. Pick your favorite beat reporter and say, hey, did John Allen practice today? And then someone tweet me. That's what we're going to do. We're going to annoy all the beat reporters on Twitter. Because I used to love that as a beat reporter. But if none of them tweeted it, hey, it's not my fault. Also, can you believe, Anthony, not a single one of them goobers asked about Cheeseman today.
Again?
I can't go out there and I literally can't go do it myself.
I think you need to plant a bug in somebody's head.
Very clearly do. Yeah. I'm tempted to call 48 on the air right now, but I don't want to do that to him. I kind of do, but I'm going to let Sam live in peace. Maybe we'll just have him on the show tomorrow, and then I'll beat him up tomorrow at 5 o'clock. All right, continuing on, that's as much information as we have on the health and safety front at the moment.
Number 4.
The left guard battle. I think something that was pointed out earlier today by Ron and some of the reporters, I think Nikki actually tweeted this out, Nikki Javala, Sam, of course, colleague at the Washington Post, that last year they rotated Cornelius Lucas and Sam Cosmi a little bit at right tackle. And it sounds like a Chris Paul, Sadiq Charles rotation isn't entirely out of the equation this year for Rivera. And then another interesting name came up when discussing the guard position as well.
I think it's very good. I really do. I like what we got from Sadiq, and I like what Chris Paul has shown us. A young man that's showing us that he's very capable of that guard. Ricky Stromberg has had a really good camp. So it's been a lot of fun to watch him and his growth and development as well. But, right now I think Sadiq and Chris have done a really, really good job for us. And I think the big thing, obviously, is, we're going to decide, who's going to be the guy pretty soon. But, if they continue to practice the way they are, we probably have to figure a way out how we can play them both. They both are stout, powerful young men, and they're both smart young football players.
And do you anticipate Sadiq and or Chris playing on Saturday?
That will decide probably another day or two.
Speaking of Sam, there he is with the excellent follow. I don't hate the idea of offensive line rotation. I'm sure Logan does, and he might be able to convince me otherwise, because there's such a thing to playing together as a unit, and you don't want to put that on Leno and on Gates to be like, all right, hey, you got a different guard next to you. But if the level's not that different and it throws off the defense a little bit, you can keep the playbook the same. There's not like certain stuff you're calling just because one's in the game and the defense isn't like hip to that. And it keeps them both fresher to where they both actually play better over the course of a game. I don't necessarily hate that conceptually. but I don't love it either, just to be clear. Like, you want one guy to play offensive line. There's a reason they don't rotate offensive linemen in the league. It's very, very rare. So we'll see how that ultimately plays out. My guess is Sadiq's just going to be the guy. But, you know, they did it last year, and some of the same coaches are still around in terms of the offensive line group. Obviously, Bieniemy might have different thoughts, but we will see. All right, your training camp, pick 6 at 6. 6 most interesting things from the day at Commanders Camp. Off we go with
Number 5.
the offense. Where is it right now? Mostly resting because Jacoby Brissett is actually going to get the start on Saturday. He got some reps with the ones today, whatever was out there of the ones. Obviously, Terry's not practicing. They're still monitoring some of the linemen, etc. So Eric Bieniemy, as he spoke today, was asked, like, how is the offense at this point?
I think we're taking the necessary steps, but we still have a long way to go. There's a lot of things that we can clean up and continue coaching through. First of all, our staff is doing a hell of a job. They're doing a great job of getting these guys aligned. They're doing a great job of getting these guys to gain the complete confidence in what we're doing. But when it's all said and done with, our guys are finding ways, creative ways, to drag themselves across the finish line. And like I said, when you have that resilience, it's something that you can build upon. I'm starting to see the second effort. On top of that, I'm seeing guys playing faster. You know, so all those things are just coming to light. Now we just got to continue cleaning up all the little stuff that's going to help us to become the better team.
So, work in progress, and of course, the biggest part of that work is Sam Howell. What does Bieniemy think about his first 2 preseason games, as well as the work that he got done in the joint practices?
You know what? I thought his progression has been right where you would like it to be. I thought he's just stayed the course. You know, he's learned a lot just being out there each and every day. I think watching Jacoby go out there and sling it around, making all the throws and just letting everything, you know, go free, that has helped him because Jacoby is a outspoken individual in that room, and he's helped Sam tremendously. The thing I also like is that Sam, he auto-corrects, and you love that about him. And he takes it personal, he takes work home, and he loves to talk through all the little detailed nuances of the game. So I think he's right where he needs to be. He's done a heck of a job. I thought he did a good job as well in the practices, and he did a heck of a job in the game this past, whenever it was, just a day or two ago.
Eric Bieniemy is all of us. It did great on that time that they put on uniforms and played football. Last but not least, the linebacker play back on the defensive side of the ball. That is our
Number 6.
Jamin Davis. We already mentioned he went home sick today, but he was fine in the game the other day. Cody Barton, I think a little bit more of a mixed bag. Here's Ron on their performance as a duo Monday night.
Well, I think the biggest thing for Cody is just got to get used to the style of play. You know, we're a little different from his time in Seattle, and yeah, we do some very similar things in terms of coverages. But some of our downhill techniques are some of the things that he's got to get used to. The first game you saw him, he was really good with it. The second game, I think he was kind of a little hesitant to really get downhill. And I think one of the mistakes you got to be careful is that when you try to be right and fit it correctly, and that guy cuts back, now you put yourself in a bad spot. He's done a nice job, I think, assimilating and trying to get a grasp of that. What was really good to watch, though, was his play speed, his quickness to adjust and to make up for that little hesitation. I love his communications with not just Jamin, but the whole unit. I think he's really starting to get a good feel for the guys. You know, it's one of those things that again, the more he plays, the more reps he gets, the better he's going to be for us. You know, this week, you know, he'll get a lot of reps in practice, just trying to get everything honed up and get everything ready to go for the regular season, more so than anything else. Very pleased with Jamin. Jamin's playing fast. He won't be at practice today. He's sick. He's got some sort of. They sent him home with some medicine, just so you know. But he's playing faster. He's more confident. You see his run, hit, and tackle. I mean, he is still really good at that. I thought some of the coverage stuff, he did a nice job putting himself in position. And really pleased with the progress.
Good stuff on both. Obviously, I think better stuff on Davis, which you'd expect. He's a first-round pick with his third year in the system. He's got to be better this year. He's got to continue. And better is like not saying like he was bad last year, because back in the last year, Jamin Davis was a very, very productive football player. But better because you want to see him continue to grow. And I think he has shown that. And he's gotten better as camp has gone on too. And he's gotten kind of back into shape after an offseason that was slowed by necessary surgery, and that means you can't work out like you want to, and you wind up playing your way into shape, and it doesn't look very good to start, and you're behind mentally because you haven't been able to get the reps and all that stuff. So he's made up that ground, has continued to grow, and now can Barton continue to just lock in on the details is going to be a big question for this team. But one thing that I do want to say about the linebackers that I don't think did a good job of saying the other day is, for both of these guys, their job is way easier when John Allen and Daron Payne are in there, and obviously Sweat and Young. But with those four in front, the run fits and everything get way easier because they're going to be clean a lot. And on the back end coverage stuff, when Cam Curl is out there, he's a game changer from a communication standpoint, from a playmaking standpoint. And so them being out there with the twos, even though they were playing twos, meant they were being asked to do a job that they typically don't actually have to do, which I think is an encouraging thing to remember going into the regular season. All right, that is our training camp. Pick 6 at 6. We got one more of them tomorrow. Final day of training camp. Rivera will speak. Jack Del Rio will speak, and we'll see what happens as they get ready for the preseason game against Cincinnati over the weekend.
This is the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.